my name is Marcel Fontaine, and I have 3 issues. I hope you don't mind. One is the economy, because I see the debt increasing, and so that, and of course I'm going to be inheriting this. It's currently $16.5 trillion in the national debt, and I find that inexcusable and intolerable. What is the Senate going to do to reach a proposal to get this debt on track?
Why don't you give me your other 2 and I'll try to answer them all.
And the other one is on civil liberties. Of course, all of you may know that Senator Rand Paul made a 13-hour filibuster on the use of drone strikes and so on American soil. And my issue is that I don't want to be living in a Orwellian surveillance state. That I don't want to have a drone hovering at my window every night and looking at what I'm doing. And thirdly is on gun rights and so like that, because I am currently a college student, and I support my right to conceal a weapon on my person, just in case, because if a gunman comes into my school, I want to be able to defend myself.
Okay, great. 3 great questions. 3 great questions. So let's take the first one. I've got 2 young boys at home. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I think about this question every day. That if we don't make changes right now to the way that our budget works, then I am going to leave, and we're all going to leave our kids and our grandkids with a debt that is unsustainable. Effectively, 30 or 40 years from now, American taxpayers are going to be sending money to the federal government just to pay back loans, and there's not going to be any money left over to pay for things that I think we all can agree we should be spending money on, like building roads or educating our kids. But we have to be honest about how we got here. I think there is a mythology that's been built up over time that it's runaway government spending on discretionary items like education and healthcare and roads and bridges that has caused this massive debt. And that's not true. We are spending more than we historically have, and that is a portion of the answer. But the other side of the answer is that we fought 2 wars on a credit card that cost us $3 trillion, that we put into effect massive tax cuts that were unpaid for. We devised a prescription drug benefit that was long overdue and necessary, but it cost way too much, and again, there wasn't any attempt to come up with the taxes to pay for it. And, of course, we've had a massive, unprecedented economic recession that has just sucked a lot of money out of the economy. And so given that there were a lot of different reasons why we got here, I just think you've got to be balanced in how you reduce that debt. And so I just sort of come back to my first question, my first remarks, which was that I think the approach has to be part spending cuts. And again, I'd go deeper in places like Medicare and defense spending and agriculture than I would on education and roads and science, but it also has to acknowledge that some people are going to have to pay more in taxes. That's the only way you get out of this. On civil liberties issues, it's funny. Rand Paul's filibuster was, I thought over a non-issue, which was the idea that the federal government is going to use drones to attack U.S. citizens here, but it raised a really important point. It raised a really important point. I am not worried about the U.S. government attacking U.S. citizens on our soil with drones. I am worried, though, about the way in which we use drones abroad. I think we have become too free and too cavalier with the way in which we've used drones overseas. It just doesn't take as much risk to send a drone to kill somebody than it does to send in a special forces unit. And we unfortunately are giving bulletin board material for a lot of the Islamic extremists around the world every time that we take on that we send one of these drones out in Pakistan or in the Arabian Peninsula. And so I think that Rand Paul's filibuster really, for the first time, made this country think, not just about protecting civil liberties here at home, because I don't disagree with him that we should. I just think his fear was a little bit overblown. But also about how we use this new technology overseas. And then lastly, sort of start the conversation on guns. There are lots of people who don't believe that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to own a gun. In fact, 4 of the 9 Supreme Court justices in the Heller decision didn't believe that the reading of the Second Amendment protected that individual right. I do. I believe that the Second Amendment gives you a right to have a gun to protect yourself. And I think all we're arguing over here is where we draw the line in terms of the type of firearm that's available to the public. We've always drawn that line. There are just some of us that are proposing to move it slightly. The Second Amendment is not absolute. None of the Bill of Rights are absolute. You don't have the right to stand up in this crowd right now and shout fire. That is not protected by your First Amendment right. And I think we've always accepted that the Second Amendment has limitations as well. And what we're debating here is just where that line falls, not whether Congress. I think we're not debating whether Congress has the ability to draw.
Okay, thank you.
Called Pequot, as